Hi, my name is Terri Clark and I'm a dietitian at Mercy Medical Center. And today I would just like to go over some herbs and spices and just explain some of the benefits of them and how to use them in some foods and making our own mixes from scratch. One of the things with herbs and spices is that they do have nutritional benefits. And you know, they add flavor, they add a nice aroma. They also have the benefits of health by being used as antioxidants. They also can help relieve some stress. They can, you know, if you take a look at the benefits of some of these herbs and spices, you'll see they have everything from like liver cleansing to relaxing to thinking a little bit clearer, helping with heart health. And so there's a lot of benefits to using herbs and spices. And I've just started using these over the past few years, growing my own. And as you can see, I have a couple of my plants that I brought from home. Now, this one here, I started as a small little plant and just kept putting it in a larger pot. And I keep it year-round. And this is my sage. And then this is a mint that I have that basically I've grown this in the yard before and it just really spreads like wildfire. So I've begun putting it in a pot. They do like to be outside in the summertime and they like to come inside in the wintertime. I have some herbs in my garden too. I have oregano, I have dill, I have thyme. And these will come back year after year. They're perennials. And so I just kind of use those seasonally. And at the end of the season, I'll clip off a bunch of them. And what I do is I kind of string them together. I just use a little rubber band. I string them together and I just hang them somewhere. And they dry. And after they dry, then I have these little containers that I put them in. And I just label them on the top and I use them throughout the year. And the one thing I like about that is I always have them fresh. So this coming summer, what I'll do, if I haven't used all of this, I'm going to dump it out and I'll get a whole brand new fresh batch. So herbs and spices, I went through my herb and spice drawer. As you can see here, I grabbed just a bunch of things. Now, they last anywhere from about a year to 3 years, depending on what spice and herb you have. So parsley flakes, for instance, this is probably going to be closer to just a year. But then you may have, like, this is onion powder. Now this is gonna last for a while, probably close to 3 years. There's some other herbs that are and spices that are more in their whole form. For instance, this nutmeg. This is a whole nutmeg right here, and I like to buy it this way. As you can see, it's just a little nut. And what I do with it is, now this one here, you can see it's a half a nut. But that's because what I do is I put it in a little grinder and I mix it kind of like those cheese shredders. I have one that's really small and I'll put it in there and I'll just grind them fresh. And it's always fresh. And I have spoken with a few chefs and they have said that in the nut form, it'll last forever. Same with something like cinnamon. Now these are cinnamon sticks. Now this will last for quite a while as well. This is a cinnamon stick form. But when you get the ground cinnamon, then you want to, those aren't going to last as long. Spices, from what I found with my own, tend to last longer than the herbs. So, what I also would like to share with you today are the fresh herbs that you would buy in the grocery store. Now this right here is parsley, and some other typical ones would be cilantro. These are nice to have fresh year-round. Typically you'll have to buy them in the grocery store during the seasons that they're not available in our gardens. You want to make sure that they're nice and bright and full, nice full color. You don't want them brown and wilted. And these, when you get home, you can just wash the whole thing. And what I like to do anyway is I like to wash the whole entire bunch and then I pat it dry. And then I'll wrap it in a paper towel, and I'll put it in a bag. And then that way, when I'm ready to use it, I don't have to wash it each and every time. I just go ahead and grab a bunch out and I chop it right on up to put in my food. And you can do that with the cilantro and this. There's also basil. Now they can get pretty pricey. You can get up to like $3.99 for a fresh bunch. So, you know, they're still good, they're flavorful, but they can be a little pricey. Now this sage right here is from my plant here, so this I could use year-round fresh because I bring this in every year. And so I just kind of cut off some, I put it in my water there, and you know, if you didn't have a plant, and this will help to keep it fresh as well, is if you just put it in a little cup of water. You have to change that water out every couple days, but it should last about 5 to 7 days in this form right here. Some other things that I wanted to point out about herbs and spices is, you know, we tend to buy taco seasoning mix, ranch mix, a lot of our mixes on packets, and they range anywhere from like $2.89 to, you know, sometimes you can get, especially taco seasoning, you can get 2 for $1 sometimes, which is pretty cheap. But the one thing about those is they do have additives. They usually have an anti-caking additive, and if you read the ingredients, there's quite a few ingredients on there. So I like to make my own. And one that I use all the time is my taco mix. And I just have a recipe that I mix everything together. Now I just keep it right in here, and this makes 1 serving here. But what I do is I quadruple it, and I make a lot here so that when I'm ready to use it, I'll just take my tablespoon, and it's usually 2 tablespoons per pound of ground beef or chicken or whatever I'm using it on. But I always have my recipe nice and handy, so when I start getting low, I can just grab it really quick and refill it, replenish it. But there's no sodium in it. It's all my herbs that I have here, my spices that I have in my cupboard. And so it's just a little bit healthier, that you're not getting a lot of the additives, and it's low in sodium. You can add or delete how much sodium you want in that. So this is beneficial. I believe also that I haven't cost priced this part out, but a little bit cheaper too. I do like to buy herbs and spices in the bulk. I think they're cheaper, and plus I don't have to get such a big amount. Like this parsley, I probably wouldn't use all of it within a year. And so I also have some anise seed, which is like a licorice, and I have some, I use curry quite a bit, so my curry will go. But my allspice, these things, I've bought these a while back. As I said earlier, I did clean out my spice drawer, so I've had these for quite a while. But if at the time I had purchased these, I would have bought them from bulk, I could have got just a tiny little bit. This is caraway seed that I went ahead and bought, and I only needed to get, you know, a tablespoon, if even that. So I do like to buy them at in the bulk. And this here was 60 cents, whereas a jar like this would probably cost me $1.98 plus. So, and I can keep it nice and fresh. So this is a mortar and pestle, and this I use to grind up some of my herbs. So let's just say I've got my my sage here, and this is all dried. It's been dry for a while. Now I can kind of crush it in with my fingers, but to get a nice little, to get it so powdery, you put it in your mortar and pestle, and you can just kind of mix it. Just mix it, and it comes into a nice little powder. I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but I'm going to pour it in my hand, and it's just a nice little powder there. And that mixes well. These, you know, you can mix these herbs and spices in salads. You can put them in soups. You can put them in casseroles. You can put them on roasted vegetables. The mint is really nice with fruit. It's also really nice with salads, fresh salads. There's just I use them all the time. If I want to add a little flavor, I just grab something and take a little bit out, mix it on. So and then the flavors are great, but also the nutritional benefits are a bonus too. So this is a French onion soup mix, and this is another one that I like to make from scratch. And again, you can just add or omit the sodium in this mix right here. So I do like to make my own mixes from scratch, and they just have better health benefits without the additives in them. You don't have any colorings, you don't have any anti-caking mixes, you don't have any MSG. So that's just a fun one to make. Now it does call for 2 tablespoons onion powder, some garlic powder, celery salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, and onion flakes. That's all it is. Everything that I had in my kitchen. So it's just a matter of throwing it together and then using this when I need French onion soup mix. I also like to make my own ranch dressing. And again, it just saves a little bit of time, but it's also very flavorful. So I thought maybe what I might do is make a little bit of ranch dressing just to kind of show you how I would do that. So I have a bowl here, and I'll get my little handy dandy ranch dressing mix recipe. It calls for 1/4 cup of dried parsley, and I went and bought new parsley because I didn't want to use my old stuff. That I'm going to get rid of. It's been around for a while. So 1/4 cup of the parsley, and then 1 tablespoon dill leaf, which my dill I have fresh, so I'll just use a tablespoon of that. A tablespoon of garlic powder. It's my onion, and this is my garlic. I do have a tablespoon here too. So I'll use that. And my onion powder. That's also a tablespoon. A 1/2 teaspoon of basil. Let's use a little of that. And a 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. So you just mix that all up. And that's just the seasonings that go in it. There is no salt. There's no additives. It's just all fresh spices and herbs right here. So then if I were to make the actual ranch dressing, then what I want to do is I want to mix in 1 tablespoon of this mix. And I'm going to put that in my food processor right here. And it also calls for Greek yogurt and coconut milk. So I have my 1 tablespoon of my healthy ranch dressing. And what I'm going to do is put 1/4 cup of this coconut milk in. And 1/3 cup of Greek yogurt. You could also use mayonnaise on that too, but I prefer to use the Greek yogurt. I think it just makes it a little bit healthier. That coconut milk will give it just a little bit of sweetness there. And then I'm going to put it in a food processor and just mix it up. I have everything in here. And that's it. Voila, it's ranch dressing. Nice and healthy. Doesn't have all the additives and preservatives. And lower cost. So what I keep them in is I usually just recycle my jars, and I'll just keep them in a jar and label it so we know what it is. And that's all I do, stored in the refrigerator, and it's usually used up within a couple of weeks, especially the ranch dressing. It goes pretty fast. So you can even make a double batch, triple batch if you go through it really fast. And so that's it. You know, get used to experimenting and using herbs and spices. Don't be afraid. Some days things will turn out better than others. But, you know, when you start using them and it becomes more of a habit, you're going to get that nutritional benefit from them. Not only that, you get some really good flavored food.